How's it going, boys? Johnny Superbman here, bringing you another Questions with Superbman. And we're back into the regular Questions with Superbman, where I answer your questions directly, alright? I got a few questions here from the last video, so let's get right into it. And if you have any future questions for me, just type them down in the comment section, and I will pick a few for the next one, alright? So let's get started here right away. The first question comes to us from A Perfect Media, and he wants to know, with the loss of Lidstrom, Hoodler, and Stewart, do you think the Detroit Red Wings will still make the playoffs this year? Very interesting question. Part of me says no. You know, as soon as Lidstrom left, part of me said no because that was their rock back there. That was their captain back there. Not only their captain of their team, but their best defenseman. You know, all the other defensemen looked up to him. All the high pressure situations, you could bet that Lidstrom would be out there. So now somebody else has got to step up. They lost Stewart, who was arguably their second best defenseman. All right, Hoodler, who was a great support player. But you know what? I got to give the benefit of the doubt to the Detroit Red Wings. All right, I can't even remember the last season that they haven't made the playoffs, and I guess that question has always been there for the Detroit Red Wings. You know, when they lost Stevie Yzerman, they're getting too old. You know, they're going to have to rebuild eventually. When are they not going to make the playoffs? And they always seem to be able to retool and have these young players who they drafted not very high overall all of a sudden break out and have a breakout year. So, you know what? Detroit Red Wings, they're looking like they could be kind of weak next year. But the way I look at it is, with Kenny Holland, Mike Babcock, one of the best coaches in the NHL, in my opinion, they have their system set up. They still have Datsuk, they still have Zetterberg, Jimmy Howard, who looks like he's an above-average goaltender. I got to give the benefit of the doubt to the Detroit Red Wings. I still think they make the playoffs next year. And you know what? I think in Detroit next year, there's some sort of breakout player who's going to break out next year. I don't know who it is, all right, but there's spots open with Lidstrom and Stewart gone. I think there's spots open. So watch for the Detroit Red Wings to make the playoffs this year. I'm not saying that they're going to be contending for the President's Trophy because they really do have a tough division with Chicago, St. Louis, Nashville, Columbus, obviously. Yeah, but those three other teams really tough in their division. So I don't think they're going to be top four, but I still think they make the playoffs. And watch out for them to have a breakout stud this year, okay? Don't know who it's going to be, but watch out for the Detroit Red Wings, all right? Thank you, A Perfect Media. Next question comes to us from Easy Utopia Biggie Biggle. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. Whatever. He wants to know, or she wants to know, who do you think will win the President's Trophy next year? Very, very tough question, you know? It could go a lot of different ways. There's still trades that could be made. Injuries could happen. You got to give the nod to the Vancouver Canucks. You know, they've won it 2 years in a row. Yes, it looks like they're going to be going into this year with just Corey Schneider as their starter, but if they don't, if they still have Luongo, then they have that 1-2 punch. They haven't really lost anybody. You know, they've gotten a little bit older. They haven't really lost anybody. They signed that Jason Garrison guy, another defender. They're going to have a first full season without Cody Hodgson in there. Vancouver looks like a pretty good contender for the Presidents, but you know what? I'm also thinking maybe the St. Louis Blues. They had a good year last year. I don't think the LA Kings will win the Presidents. I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think they'll win the Presidents. But you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to say the New York Rangers could possibly win the President's Trophy this year. Why? They won the Eastern Conference last year, all right? And they pretty much have the same team as they had last year, but the only difference is their younger guys like Kreider, Hagelin, Del Zotto, Stahl, what was the other defender? I'm forgetting one in there. You guys know who I'm talking about. They're all older with more experience, all right? And they added Rick Nash. All right, they did lose Dubinsky and Anisimov from their starters, but adding in Rick Nash, I think the Rangers could go for a Presidents. All right, if Gabrick comes back early enough, and they haven't lost a bunch of games in the early part of the season due to Gabrick being injured. If Lundqvist has another Lundqvist year, if Nash does 30-30, if Richards does 30-30, if Gabrick comes back and does 25-25, 30-30 maybe with that defensive core, I think the Rangers could win the President's Trophy next year. So that's what I'm going to give that's my opinion. I think the President's Trophy next year will go to the New York Rangers, all right? Thank you very much for that question. Next comes to us from Disco6600. Do I think that Alexander Ovechkin will have a better season playing with a healthy Backstrom this year and Mike Ribeiro? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. For me, now this is a generalization, a bit of a stereotype. But to me, a lot of the Russian players, they have their best years right when they come into the league. You know, if you remember Pavel Bure, he was the Russian Rocket in his first few years. Then he started moving around, started getting older. I don't know if injuries took down Pavel Bure. Ovi hasn't had to deal with any injuries just yet, major injuries anyway. So I think the possibility is still there. He's obviously still has the talent, but it's just interesting when it comes to not only Russian players, but European players. Remember Teemu Solani? He had like 70-something goals in his first season. A lot of those players go first overall from Europe. They have their best seasons in the first 5 years, and they start to cool off a little bit. I still think Ovechkin still has the potential. He still has the talent, right? But he's got to get the heart. He's got to get the drive back. And he's got to have a really good start to the season. You know, they're going to have a new coach this year. I don't know if they're going to be defensively minded or go back to that run and gun offense. I think Ovi needs that run and gun offense to really enjoy playing. I don't think he enjoys not getting points. You know, he wants to be getting at least 80 points a season, you know, and if he doesn't, you could see him sulking around a little bit. That's just my opinion anyways. I think with a healthy Backstrom this year, if he stays healthy the whole year, yeah, you could see Ovechkin get back to 40-40 for sure. And do I think he could still get back to, 60 goals again? Possibly. It's possible. If he has a good season, yeah, it could happen. But I think we're going to see another season with Ovechkin not being a 50-goal scorer, being in the 40-goal scores, but having around 80, 90 points. I don't see him getting back to 60 and 60 again. I mean, I'm not going to doubt it if it happens. I won't be surprised if it happens, but just by the patterns that have happened with other players, their best few years in the early parts. But Washington, they're going to try and win. They're trying to become a winning team. And you can't be a winning team with an individual going out there doing whatever he wants, shooting wherever he wants. You got to buy into a system. And I think if Ovechkin buys into a system, then his points are going to take a hit. But at the end of the day, points don't really matter. It's about winning the Stanley Cup, right? So will Washington be a competitive team next year? Will Braden Holtby stand up? It's going to be interesting. I think he'll have a better season than he did this year if Backstrom and Ribeiro stay healthy and if Ovechkin stays healthy, all right? So thank you for that question. Next comes to us from BKL1000. Do I think that Bobby Ryan will leave Anaheim? And if so, where will he go? I have no clue where he's going to go, all right? The rumors are going to come up. There's going to be teams like the Detroit Red Wings, the Philadelphia Flyers, Toronto Maple Leafs. All these teams would love to get their hands on Bobby Ryan, so the rumor mill will be running crazy here. And the thing about Bobby Ryan is, he's stated his disappointment and frustration with the Anaheim Ducks when it comes to trade rumors, because apparently a few times over this year, Bobby Ryan came up in trade rumors and Anaheim didn't go to him saying, no, that's not true, it's just a rumor. It's like that they put his name out there and fish around for a good deal. So it looks like Bobby Ryan's not too pleased with this. Now, I don't know what Bobby Ryan's contract situation is. I know he's got like 2 or 3 years left. I don't know if he's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of his contract. If he is, then maybe he's going to walk. And if he's going to walk, then yes, maybe they do trade him in the next year or two. All right, I could see him going. But then again, he's like a 24, 25-year-old, like 30-goal scorer. So, I mean, you can keep him and you still have a future with him in Anaheim, right? But the thing is, with Bobby Ryan, the thing with Anaheim is, if he's pissed off, if he's frustrated, if they're just fishing him around out there, then yeah, he's going to get pissed off and he's going to tell them, he's going to demand a trade, all right? I don't know when it's going to be. I think eventually Bobby Ryan will be traded, all right? Unless Anaheim has a renaissance year where they turn it around, all right? But if they have another year where they're not really making the playoffs, I think one of those guys, Getzlaf, Perry, or Ryan, possibly will be on the trading block, and it seems like Bobby Ryan's name keeps on popping up instead of Perry's and Getzlaf's. So quite possible that Bobby Ryan gets traded. I don't know though, and I have no clue where he'll go. All right, so that's my opinion on Bobby Ryan. Next, do I think that, and this question comes to us from Raspberry's Gone Wild. Do I think that Nazem Kadri is ever going to become a good player, or will he always be stuck down in the AHL? For anyone who doesn't know, Nazem Kadri was a draft pick by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he went 5th or 7th, or I think he went 7th overall. I forget which draft. It was a while ago now. It was in the same draft as Braden Shen. I forget which year it was. The thing is, to me, Kadri should have had a full year in Toronto by now. You know why? Because I understand if we're trying to make the playoffs, you don't want to bring up a young kid who is dangerous. You know what I mean? He's got some offensive flair, yes, but he does some stupid things, blind passes, dekes too much, doesn't get the puck in deep. Typical things that a young offensive player would do. So I understand that. But the thing is, boys, since we drafted Nazem Kadri, we haven't made the playoffs. All right, last year was supposed to be our best year. We had the 5th overall pick. We finished 25th overall. out of 30 teams, all right? I mean, we could have played him all year last year, and even if we had a worse year, it wouldn't have mattered. All that would have changed is we would have had a better draft pick, all right? And he would have gotten NHL experience. So that I agree with, all right? By the fact that we're not making the playoffs, we should be playing them. I mean, you look at the Edmonton Oilers, all right? They draft their guys, they play them right away. Why? Because they're not a good team. So there's no point in playing them in the AHL. Put them in the NHL, let them get their NHL experience. We're not going to make the playoffs anyways, all right? Let's get them their experience, and they will progress faster. I think the mindset with Kadri is, he's not ready yet. We're a playoff team. He's not ready yet. He's not going to help us out. And then, halfway through the season, oh shit, we're not really a playoff team. He gets a few games here or there, and when he comes up to the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's a plus player. He gets some points. I think that, bring up Kadri. I think if he had a full first year in the Toronto Maple Leafs, 82-game schedule, I think he'd get 35, 45 points, something between there. All right, nothing too special. He'd probably be a minus player, fine. But unless we're making the playoffs, play our young guns, all right? To me, trade away Clark MacArthur for a prospect or a first-round pick and let Kadri replace MacArthur, because MacArthur, guess what? MacArthur's good offensively, yes, but he does a lot of stupid plays as well. Blind passes, doesn't dump it in, passes to nowhere, just stupid shots on the net. To me, MacArthur does all that stuff. So let Kadri replace MacArthur. Give him the experience. If we're not going to be a playoff team, whatever, at least you're giving Kadri the chance. You gave Gardner the chance last year. All right. I'd say Kadri could replace MacArthur any day. All right. And do I think he'll become a good player? It's tough to see. I think if he got traded away from the Toronto Maple Leafs, he'd become a good player. I think he's a... Put him in the right situation, because he is kind of small. Put him in the right situation, hit his prime. I think he's a 50-point guy. I do. I'm not going to say 80 points or anything like that, but I think minimum on the right lines when he's in his prime, I think he's a 55-point guy. A 20-goal scorer, 30 assists, which isn't bad, all right? If you give him the right contract, if he doesn't want a lot, that's not a bad player. Just replace MacArthur, all right? So that's my opinion on Kadri. I want to slow down because I could ramble on about the Leafs so much, all right? And I wanted to save some time for this last question, which is also about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Comes to us from Pata Paz Games. If I could get any player on Toronto, who would it be? Any player in the NHL. If I could just draft him right now, no trades, money wasn't an issue, cap wasn't an issue. If I could just snatch a player and insert him in the Toronto Maple Leaf lineup, who would it be? Now, the easy answer would be Crosby. All right, Crosby to me is the best player in the world. You put Crosby on any team, and that if he stays healthy, that team is all of a sudden a contender for the playoffs. And could you imagine what Crosby and Kessel would do together? Oh my God! I mean, it could be a bust, but it could also just be outstanding. You got your pure shooter with your pure playmaker. So I could say Crosby is the easy answer, but if I was... I'm not going to say Crosby just because, it's the easy answer. If I got to choose somebody else, it's got to be Carey Price, right? The Toronto Maple Leafs, we need a goalie. A lot of people are going to say that Jonathan Quick is now the best goalie in the NHL because he won the Stanley Cup. Fine, that's all well and good. To me, Carey Price is the best goalie in the NHL. He's proven that he can play in a pressure cooker. All right, if you can play goalie in Montreal through losing seasons, I mean, you've got to have a strong will, all right? That guy is not going to let anything get to him, all right? He's playing in Montreal. He's young. I love his confidence, his calmness in the net, all right? I love his swagger on camera. He doesn't let anything get to him. He's a funny guy. If you heard him in the All-Star game this year, he's cracking jokes while in the shootout. I love that. I would have to go with Carey Price, all right? Obviously, the easy answer is Crosby. Any team in the NHL would take Crosby. But the Leafs need a goalie, a young goalie of the future who can handle the pressure. All right, I'd have to say Carey Price. And if we had Carey Price out of nowhere, I don't know. I think we automatically become a playoff team. We automatically get like 10 more wins in our season just because of Carey Price, all right? And that's minus 10 losses, add 10 more wins, boom, playoff team, all right? So I would love to have Carey Price on our team. That's never going to happen because Montreal, they locked him up till he's 30 years old. So at least another, 5 or 6 years with Carey Price in Montreal, all right? So there you go, boys. We're back into the regular routine with the questions with Superbman, all right? You can go nuts in the comments and ask any questions that you want answered for the next questions with Superbman, all right, boys? Take it easy.